No, I knew or I felt. I mean, I thought, Joe and Marissa, it was so clear that they just had a magic, together. And then,
Did Marissa Tomei truly win that Oscar fair and square? Was Joe Pesci nearly replaced? And how did a courtroom comedy become a law school legend? My Cousin Vinny is full of behind-the-scenes chaos, last-minute changes, and wild trivia. Stay with us as we reveal 20 secrets you won't believe. Secret 1: the real judge almost played himself. One of the most unexpected behind-the-scenes facts is that the filmmakers originally considered casting a real-life Southern judge to play Judge Chamberlain Haller. Dale Launer, the screenwriter and producer of My Cousin Vinny, was adamant about capturing the nuances of the Deep South legal system with authenticity. While scouting for tone and realism, Launer visited actual courtrooms in Alabama and was struck by the commanding presence of a particular judge. So much so, he floated the radical idea of having the judge play himself in the film. The thought was that his no-nonsense demeanor would lend the film a rare form of credibility, especially against the comedic chaos brought in by Joe Pesci's Vinny. However, the idea quickly faced a wall. Hollywood studios were wary of having an untrained actor in a pivotal role. Legal experts warned that a judge blurring the line between real courtroom authority and fictional representation could cause ethical issues, especially if he presided over cases involving pop culture-savvy jurors. Ultimately, the team cast Fred Gwynne, whose towering presence and studied Southern accent made him nearly indistinguishable from a real judge. Gwynne even reportedly watched hours of footage of real courtroom sessions to mirror their cadence and behavior. Ironically, his performance was so natural that audiences in the South genuinely believed he had judicial experience. Secret 2: the deleted scene that could have changed the ending. While My Cousin Vinny ends with Vinny and Mona Lisa driving off into the sunset, bickering about wedding plans and court victories, an entirely different ending almost made it to the screen. In a now-deleted scene, Judge Chamberlain Haller, impressed with Vinny's performance, offers him a job as a permanent legal consultant in Alabama. The idea was to reward Vinny's unconventional genius with a foothold in the legal world. Test audiences, however, had mixed feelings. Some thought the offer wrapped up Vinny's story too neatly. Others felt it betrayed the essence of his character, a scrappy, rule-bending New Yorker who didn't fit neatly into any institution. Director Jonathan Lynn, who studied law at Cambridge, ultimately sided with the character's integrity. Accepting the job would have turned Vinny into part of the establishment he so cleverly outwitted throughout the film. It also would have weakened the thematic punch of an underdog succeeding without conforming. So, the scene was cut. Instead, the film ends on Vinny's own terms, driving away with Mona Lisa, still loud, still messy, and still 100% himself. It's a testament to how crucial tone and character consistency are in storytelling. Even one scene can shift everything. Secret 3: Joe Pesci. Almost passed on playing Vinny, Joe Pesci's role as Vincent Gambini is so iconic that it's difficult to imagine anyone else playing him. But what most fans don't know is that Pesci almost turned the part down. Coming off a string of dramatic roles, including his Oscar-winning performance in Goodfellas, Pesci was hesitant to dive into a legal comedy. He worried that playing an over-the-top, loudmouthed lawyer might undercut his serious acting credentials. In Hollywood, momentum matters, and Pesci had become a serious player in crime dramas. But screenwriter Dale Launer and director Jonathan Lynn believed in Pesci's versatility. They emphasized that the role of Vinny wasn't just slapstick, he was clever, layered, and often the smartest person in the room, even when others underestimated him. Eventually, Pesci was won over by the quality of the script, particularly the sharp dialogue and legal accuracy. Once he committed, he didn't hold back. He added improvised moments, fine-tuned Vinny's Bronx accent, and brought an unpredictable energy that made scenes come alive. Interestingly, Pesci's concerns turned out to be unfounded. The film was a massive success, and critics praised his performance as one of his most entertaining roles. Rather than diminish his stature, it added depth to his career and proved he could master both intense drama and sharp comedy. Secret 4: the tape recorder that sparked real-life legal debate. One of the most cleverly understated scenes in My Cousin Vinny involves a simple tape recorder, but its implications are anything but small. When Vinny records Sheriff Farley confessing that the tire marks could have come from a different car, it turns the entire case upside down. But here's the kicker. Legal professionals across the US have fiercely debated whether that recording would actually be admissible in court. In Alabama, where the film is set, only one-party consent is required for a recording to be legal. That means if Vinny knew the conversation was being recorded, and he did, it would be admissible. Still, some critics argued that the way the evidence was introduced and the lack of proper discovery might have made it inadmissible or even grounds for a mistrial. Law professors have since used the scene in classroom discussions about ethics, chain of custody, and courtroom strategy. Some even assign the entire film as part of their legal curriculum. What's most fascinating is that the tape recorder scene doesn't just serve dramatic purposes. It's a brilliant legal maneuver grounded in actual precedent. Vinny's street smarts merge seamlessly with courtroom cunning in this moment, showing that knowledge of the law isn't always about fancy degrees. It's about knowing how the system works. Secret 5. Marisa Tomei's transformation fooled the crew. Marisa Tomei's performance as Mona Lisa Vito wasn't just about acting, it was a full transformation. Tomei, a Brooklyn native, already had a hint of the accent, but she leaned deep into the character's physicality, voice modulation, and fashion. From the buff hair to the leopard prints and acrylic nails, she became almost unrecognizable even to people on set. Crew members who hadn't seen her in rehearsal often mistook her for a local extra hired just for a background scene. One production assistant reportedly tried to escort her away from the wardrobe truck, thinking she was a fan who'd wandered onto set. To pull off Mona Lisa's look, the costume and hair team spent hours each morning building the persona. Tomei also worked with dialect coaches to push her voice into a higher, slightly nasal register while maintaining precise comic timing. Her walk, her attitude, even the way she held her purse, all were meticulously rehearsed. Her transformation was so complete that when she later appeared in interviews as herself, fans were stunned by how different she looked and sounded. The performance earned her an Academy Award, but it was the subtle physical and vocal details that sold Mona Lisa as a real person. Secret 6. The Karate Kid connection hidden in plain sight. Even longtime fans of My Cousin Vinny and the Karate Kid might not realize there's a fascinating connection between the two. Originally, My Cousin Vinny was being developed under the direction of John G. Avildsen, the same director who brought the Karate Kid to life. Though Avildsen later left the project and Jonathan Lynn ultimately directed the film, the early creative DNA still lingered. And with Ralph Macchio cast as Bill Gambini, the link became even more pronounced. Macchio had just wrapped up his run as Daniel LaRusso, the scrappy underdog from New Jersey who triumphs through heart and resilience. In Vinny, he steps into another underdog role, this time wrongfully accused of murder in a small southern town. Once again, he finds himself relying on a mentor figure. Only instead of Mr. Miyagi, it's the unorthodox but brilliant Cousin Vinny. Both films build their tension slowly, culminating in satisfying, high-stakes showdowns. Karate tournaments in one, a courtroom cross-examination in the other. Macchio viewed My Cousin Vinny as a chance to transition from his teenage heartthrob image into more mature, grounded roles. He deliberately kept his performance understated, creating space for Joe Pesci and Marisa Tomei to shine while anchoring the film with emotional realism. It's subtle, but the echoes of the Karate Kid are there if you look closely, especially in how underestimated characters fight back against impossible odds. Secret 7. Mona Lisa's pink tuxedo blunder was unplanned. Mona Lisa's pink tuxedo-style outfit during her courtroom testimony is one of the film's most visually iconic moments. But here's the kicker. It was never intended to be that way. Originally, the costume department had planned for Tomei to wear a sleek, conservative outfit for the courtroom scene. However, due to a last-minute mix-up in wardrobe scheduling, the outfit wasn't available on the day of shooting. With filming time ticking away, the only available backup was the now famous pink satin tuxedo look. Director Jonathan Lynn was initially skeptical about the outfit's loud design. Would audiences take the character seriously as an expert witness while dressed like she was heading to a bachelorette party? But Tomei owned it. She walked into the scene with full Mona Lisa energy, turning what could have been a disaster into a defining moment. The contrast between her over-the-top outfit and her flawless technical testimony about car suspensions created perfect comedic tension. In fact, the absurdity of her appearance only made her credibility more satisfying when she demolished the prosecution's case with cold, hard facts. Today, that outfit is so synonymous with the character that fans cosplay in it at movie conventions. What started as a mistake became a symbol of feminine confidence and comic brilliance wrapped in one unforgettable look. Secret 8. Joe Pesci accidentally caused a real courtroom disruption. During production, a small scene was filmed inside a functioning Georgia courthouse, though closed to the public for the day. A few staff members and legal interns were allowed to watch from the back. While filming the scene where Vinny confronts a witness using photographs and tire track logic, Joe Pesci got so into character that he began improvising lines, some of them unscripted and laced with real legal jargon. Apparently, Pesci shouted at one point, "Are you seriously telling me that two cars with the exact same tire marks came through here like synchronized swimmers?" The delivery was so intense and convincing that one court intern, who didn't realize the scene was staged, thought Pesci was interrupting a real trial. The intern stood up and began to object loudly, thinking it was a legitimate legal disruption. Filming had to pause while the situation was sorted out, and the intern was gently escorted out, still mortified. The incident made its way through the Georgia courthouse rumor mill, with some legal staff joking that Pesci should have been held in contempt, method acting or not. The moment also reminded everyone just how deeply the actor had immersed himself into the role. His blend of passion, unpredictability, and legal intuition was so convincing it fooled someone who worked in a courtroom every day. Secret 9. The final cross-examination is used in real law schools. Vinny's final cross-examination isn't just a cinematic highlight, it's studied in real law schools. Professors use the scene to teach how to dismantle expert testimony through logic, control, and focused questioning. Vinny doesn't bully or rant. He simply dissects assumptions. He exposes flaws, unmeasured tire tread depth, and unverified data until the expert witness's testimony crumbles. The scene is lauded for its adherence to proper courtroom procedure and its brilliant use of physical evidence, turning comedy into a practical lesson in trial advocacy. Secret 10. Fred Gwynne was cast. Just days before filming began, Fred Gwynne nearly wasn't in My Cousin Vinny. Best known as Herman Munster, Gwynne wasn't the first choice to play Judge Haller. Producers feared audiences wouldn't take him seriously, but director Jonathan Lynn insisted Gwynne had the perfect mix of gravitas and presence. With filming about to start, Gwynne flew in for a last-minute screen test. His southern accent, commanding delivery, and calm demeanor instantly won over the team. He brought unexpected weight to the courtroom scenes, balancing the film's comedy with genuine authority. Sadly, this was Gwynne's final role. He passed away just a year later, but his performance became one of the most quoted and beloved in legal film history. What is a Ute? Still gets laughs decades later. Secret 11. Marissa Tomei's Oscar win sparked a Hollywood conspiracy. When Marissa Tomei won Best Supporting Actress in 1993, some industry insiders were stunned. Competing against legends like Vanessa Redgrave, Tomei's comedic role was seen as a long shot. Rumors quickly spread that presenter Jack Palance had read the wrong name and that the Academy was too embarrassed to correct it. Despite the theory's persistence, the Academy confirmed no mistake was made. A representative from Pricewaterhouse would have corrected any error instantly. Still, the conspiracy lingered, casting unfair doubt over Tomei's well-deserved win. In reality, her performance was sharp, layered, and hilarious. She took what could have been a simple stereotype and turned it into a scene-stealing, Oscar-worthy role. Today, her win is considered a triumph for comedic acting, especially for women. Secret 12. The original title was rejected for being too ethnic. Before it was titled My Cousin Vinny, the film went through several name ideas, including Brooklyn on Trial and The Gambinis Go to Court. The latter was dropped because studio executives feared it sounded too ethnic and might alienate audiences outside Italian-American communities. In early 90s, Hollywood, even mild ethnic cues were seen as risky for box office appeal. Screenwriter Dale Launer pushed back, arguing that Vinny's identity was central to the humor. Eventually, My Cousin Vinny became the compromise, a title that kept personal charm while broadening appeal. Ironically, the very thing the executives feared became a major part of the film's success. Vinny's cultural identity, accent, and attitude were embraced by audiences and became defining traits. Now the title is iconic, capturing the film's family ties, courtroom drama, and offbeat charm in one line. Secret 13. Vinny's legal logic was modeled after Sherlock Holmes. Vinny Gambini may not wear a deerstalker hat or carry a magnifying glass, but his approach to solving the murder case was directly inspired by none other than Sherlock Holmes. Screenwriter Dale Launer admitted in interviews that he deliberately modeled Vinny's thought process after the legendary detective's method of elimination through logic. Every time Vinny dismantles a witness's credibility or introduces a technical point of doubt, he's following the Holmesian philosophy: eliminate the impossible, and whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. This is especially clear during the scene where Vinny grills the eyewitness about her inability to see through a dirty window from over 100 feet away. Rather than argue emotionally, Vinny calmly lays out the facts, distance, obstructions, time of day, until the witness's certainty crumbles under the weight of reason. Vinny's success isn't luck, it's logic wrapped in denim and sarcasm. Secret 14. A simple line took 27 takes to nail. There's a scene in My Cousin Vinny where Judge Haller asks Vinny what experience he has in trying criminal cases. Vinny stammers, hems, and then launches into an absurdly vague explanation involving traffic violations. It's a brief but hilarious moment. What most viewers don't realize is that it took a whopping 27 takes to get that line right, and the delay wasn't due to acting issues, it was the courtroom extras. According to crew reports, the extras sitting in the courtroom gallery couldn't stop laughing. No matter how many times the director yelled, "Action," someone would giggle, snort, or burst into full-on laughter the moment Pesci delivered his awkward excuse. Even Fred Gwynne reportedly had to fight to keep a straight face. The line, simple on paper, worked because of Pesci's precise delivery, equal parts bluff and panic. In the end, take 26 was the one used, where the timing was perfect and the judge's scowl added just the right punctuation. Secret 15. Vinny's wrinkled suit was an intentional disaster. Vinny's infamous wrinkled suit, first seen in court and immediately scorned by the judge, is one of the most memorable wardrobe choices. But what you might not know is that the hideousness of that suit wasn't just for laughs. It was a deliberate, painstakingly crafted disaster. Costume designer Carol Ramsey revealed that they had to go through multiple versions of the suit to get just the right bad look. The fabric was steamed, crumpled, slept on, and even stuffed in a plastic bag for 48 hours to achieve the perfect amount of ugly. At one point, a scene had to be reshot because Joe Pesci started laughing in the middle of a serious line after catching a glimpse of himself in a reflection on set. The suit symbolized how far out of his depth Vinny appeared, even though underneath it all, he was the most competent person in the room. Secret 16. A real-life lawsuit was inspired by the movie. In one of the most ironic twists in movie history, My Cousin Vinny, a comedy about courtroom chaos, inspired a real-life legal dispute. A few years after the film's release, a man in Ohio cited the movie in an actual court case, claiming that the way his lawyer had cross-examined a witness was nothing like what Vinny did in the movie. While the case didn't progress far legally, it sparked national headlines. Even more intriguing was another incident in which a young attorney referenced a quote from Vinny in his closing argument. The judge was not amused, and the lawyer was reprimanded in chambers and warned about keeping fiction separate from professional conduct. The irony: legal scholars often cite My Cousin Vinny as one of the most accurate courtroom films ever made. Secret 17. The Ute transcript prop sparked a collecting craze. One of the most iconic moments in My Cousin Vinny comes when Judge Haller pauses the trial to ask Vinny, "What is a Ute?" referring to Vinny's New York pronunciation of youths. That single exchange became so legendary that the film's prop department created a fake court transcript for the scene in which the word Ute was typed phonetically multiple times. But here's the kicker. Only 2 copies were made and neither was meant to survive past filming. Fast forward a few years and one of the prop transcripts surfaced at a Hollywood memorabilia auction, fetching over $6,000. Since then, reproductions of the Ute transcript have become a cult favorite among fans, especially lawyers and legal students who treat it as both a hilarious keepsake and a symbol of cultural crossover between law and comedy. Secret 18, a filming location was nearly shut down by wildlife. While My Cousin Vinny is set in a fictional Alabama town, much of the film was actually shot in various rural areas of Georgia. One particular courthouse and surrounding neighborhood were used extensively for outdoor scenes. But what the production team didn't anticipate was just how wild the Wild South could get. During filming, crew members started reporting strange animal noises and rustling in the woods. Things escalated when a lighting technician was chased by an actual wild boar that had wandered too close to set. The incident caused a major disruption. Filming was halted for an entire day while local wildlife control was brought in. Signs were posted, staff were briefed, and tighter barriers were erected around the filming perimeter. Some actors, including Joe Pesci, reportedly refused to walk alone between trailers after sundown. Secret 19, Danny DeVito was considered for Vinny long before Joe Pesci was locked in as Vincent Gambini. Another Hollywood icon was being seriously considered, Danny DeVito. Producers saw DeVito as a natural fit, a short, scrappy, quick-witted actor with proven comedic chops. His previous performances in Taxi and Romancing the Stone had already shown his ability to play eccentric, lovable underdogs. However, the tone of the film began to evolve. As the script took shape, it became clear that the comedy needed to be balanced with moments of sharp intelligence and legal credibility. Vinny couldn't just be a clown, he had to be smart enough to win a murder trial and be believable doing it. That's when the studio shifted focus to Joe Pesci, whose ability to bring both volatility and brilliance made him perfect for the role. Secret 20, Mona Lisa's expert testimony almost got axed. Marisa Tomei's courtroom monologue about positive traction and car suspension systems is a fan-favorite moment, but incredibly, that scene almost didn't make it into the final cut. Executives at 20th Century Fox were initially unsure if audiences would believe that a young woman dressed in a pink tuxedo could give such a technically accurate and convincing testimony. Screenwriter Dale Launer stood his ground. He insisted that Mona Lisa's intelligence was part of what made her character so powerful. Launer had researched car suspension systems in detail and used real technical jargon, making the testimony not only plausible but educational. Director Jonathan Lynn, who has a legal background, also supported the scene, arguing that smart characters shouldn't have to look the part to be taken seriously. The scene stayed, and it won Tomei an Oscar. It turned Mona Lisa from comic relief into a key to Vinny's success and symbolized the movie's core message: never judge intelligence by appearance.